All right. This has been quite a day for Shea and the A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast where we talk about your Oakland A's all year long. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for quite a while now, and we're wrapping up my sixth full season here at the Locked On Podcast Network and my lone year as the host of Locked On A's. Follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And if you are watching us and going to post on one of those social media sites, make sure to use that hashtag EverydayA's. Helps us keep track of who's listening to us. And today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. It's funny. This is I've mentioned this before. Baseball is the greatest game of them all. Because it's on all the time. I know football's starting up now. I know football is more popular than baseball. And as someone who's pretty much a baseball only fan like me, yeah, it gets frustrating when the football season starts. And all I want to do is talk about the best part of the year in baseball. And everyone wants to talk about a sport that plays once a week. I get it. I can't scream at the tides. It's just frustrating because this is baseball at its best. But baseball is the greatest sport of them all for a couple reasons. But I think the best one is the fact that they play every day. Yesterday, the A's had their worst loss of the season. We had Bryce Patrick on for it. It was an absolute kick to the fruit stand, roundhouse punch to the face. They had the big lead going into the bottom of the 10th. Mason Miller wet the bed. His slider wasn't sliding, and they lost on the walk-off home run. It was the worst loss of the year, and I was mad. I was legitimately mad after that game. I didn't want to look at highlights. I didn't want to look at anything. I recorded with Bryce, and I turned off the computer after that. And baseball is the best game of them all because they play the next day. It can't linger. You can't get too low, and you can't get too high. It's a ride. And I can tell you something. It's been an absolute thrill for me to be doing this day-by-day ride through Locked On A's because I feel like these are my friends for this year. The A's aren't going to win squat this year. Or we're going to get into in segment 2 the fact that this is going to be a better, this already is a better year. And they are just a handful of games away from making this really something special. But I've been with this group of players all year. The Geloffs, the Langeliers, the Blades, the Butler, the Rookers, the McFarlands, the Geloffs. I feel like I've known them because I'm with them day in and day out. And you got punched in the mouth for the worst loss of the year. And then less than 24 hours later, they're playing again. And this one, I'll say it, this might have been the best win of the year. We had the worst day followed by the best day. That can happen only in baseball. Maybe you'll have back-to-back days in basketball, but it's rare. Maybe you have back-to-back days in hockey, but it's rare. It's not rare in baseball. Now, of course, not every team played on Labor Day, which is beyond stupid. But this game was everything. I mean, I'll go through the year at one point, and I'll pick out the 10 best games and the 10 worst games. But this has to be up there, especially coming right off the heels of the brutal loss to Texas. 12,000 some odd people were at the Oakland Coliseum, and things got off to the worst kind of start. Cal Raleigh hit the 2-run home run before the A's were down 2 before they even came to bat. And in case you're wondering, Gilbert was pitching for the Mariners. Gilbert's a good pitcher. And I've said this on Locked On MLB. I absolutely believe that if the Mariners make the playoffs, I'd pick them to win the pennant. Not that I think they're the best team in the American League, but I would pick them to win a short series. I like their pitching staff better than any other pitching staff in the American League. I do, although Houston's pretty darn good. But I like how this team pitches. If they make it even as the third wild card team, I think they'll go all the way to the World Series. But the fact that we are now, it's Labor Day. Labor Day's in the rearview mirror, and their record is 69-69, which is not nice. They're at even 500, and they need to go on a tear. And, it looked like maybe they were going to go on a tear. Raleigh homers. That's his 20th home run of the year for Raleigh. Gilbert on the mound. And then Rodriguez hits that fly ball that scored Robles in the third. So it was 3 bagel with Gilbert on the mound. I'm not going to lie to you. At that point, I thought, oh, crap. Because they lost the final 2 games against Texas. 2 walk-off losses. And I thought, oh, poo. This is not good. This is not good at all. That bad thing was a lot like this. And I really didn't see them having a 3-game losing streak at this point, but it really bummed me out. And Rooker homered. I'm like, okay, fine. And then with 2 outs in the bottom of the third, Langeliers came up. And there were 2 on. But I just thought I could, when you watch a game, and I've watched a crap load of games in my life. When you watch a game, you've got the little, you're watching it on the TV, but you also got the TV in your head, the little choose your own adventure book that's going on. All right, well, what could happen here? What can happen here? And I always envision it. And all I could envision for Langeliers was popping up, grounding out, fly ball, foul pop, that incredible amount of foul territory at the Oakland Coliseum. The first baseman was going to run it down. And I said, if he hits a home run, the A's take the lead. And I thought to myself, especially on the heels of the game yesterday where Butler and Rooker just kept getting hit after hit and couldn't score. I said, he's not going to hit a home run. This is going to be an out. The score's going to be 3-1 going into the 4th. And then, boom, Langeliers homered. Suddenly, the A's were up 4-3. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Now, of course, the Mariners tied it up. Justin Turner. Hands up if you remember Justin Turner was on the Mariners. I totally forgot. I completely forgot. But he got, he singled home the run, and suddenly it was 4-4. But here's something that, well, let me just finish the quick recap, obviously, because there's a point in the game that I want to bring up, but we'll go through it, and then we get the A's wiggled out of some trouble in the 8th, and then they get to the 9th, and nobody named Mason Miller pitched, and Langeliers led off the 9th against Voth, and all the A's coverage, all the A's television could say was how hard it was to hit a home run off of Voth, and how he hasn't done this. They brought this stat up and this stat up and this and that and the other thing. And then Langeliers hit a deep fly ball to left. And my podcasting friends, I have to make an admission. When he hit it to left, I said out loud, foul. I did. I did not think that was a home run. And even if it was going down the left field line, I thought, no, that's going to hook foul. That's going to hook foul. Is that going to hook foul? It's going to hook foul. And it didn't hook foul. And suddenly, the A's won. In a game where they were down 2 runs before they even came to bat. In a game where they were down 3-0 with a tremendous pitcher like Gilbert on the mound. In a game where Beto got into big trouble and had to be lifted in the 6th. The A's walked off winners. And the bad taste in my mouth from the walk-off loss to the Rangers was gone, proving once again that baseball is indeed the single greatest game of them all. But when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that the A's have inched ever so closely to something really tremendous for this year, and something that probably won't make the highlight reel, but was the real reason why they're in the position to win. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Hey, this is a reminder that Locked On has begun the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It is available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Sports Today is also available on the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Let's just talk about one thing. The A's got into trouble, of course, and Beto came out of the game with one out in the sixth inning. Two runners were on base. McFarland came in, and even though he walked the batter, he got out of the inning. Holman came in the seventh. He did walk a batter, but he struck out the next two. Otanez got a little flustered. He got a called ball 4, which should have been a called third strike, and it flustered him as he walked the next batter. But then he struck him out the final batter to get out of the jam. And Ferguson came in and went 1, 2, 3, and struck out all three batters that he faced. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? That tells you that the A's bullpen did not allow a hit. Okay, fine. They let up a few walks, which is more than you want to have. But they did not let up a hit. They did not allow a rally to go. They did not allow the Mariners to build upon anything. And with that, my friends, the A's set up the walk-off win. And that is a glorious thing. Now, here's another glorious thing. I'm going to say a scenario. 13-11. That's what the A's have to do. They have 24 more games to go. 24 games left in Oakland. And they need to go 13-11. That is not an extraordinary number of wins I'm asking them to go on. I am asking them to play winning ball the rest of the way. But what happens if they go 13-11? Well, thank you for asking. I will tell you. Their record, if they go 13-11, would be 73-89. Now, that right here, this is a little trinket I bought at the Baseball Hall of Fame, which has all the championships won. There's a slight misnomer because it says Oakland A's, and the 1910, 11, 13, 29, and 30 championships were won by Philadelphia. Okay. But these are the great years of athletics history. And I will grant you that 73 and 89 will not get a pennant flown, won't be a storied team in the history of the A's. But it will be a team that avoided not just 100 losses. They've been a 100-loss team each of the last 2 seasons. But then they would avoid 90 losses. If they win 73 games, do you know what that means? Last year they went 50 and 112. If they won 73 games, that is a 23 game improvement. 23 game improvement with no bump in the payroll, no bump in revenue. In fact, you're going to see the attendances continue to be super low. You don't have an ownership that's even remotely caring about putting a decent product on the field. Nothing like that is going to happen. And yet, this team, which everyone penciled in to lose at least 100 games, maybe 110 games, they'll have a losing record. The chances of them having a winning record are as close to zero as you could possibly have. That we gotta be honest right there. But improving by over 20 games is something else. They can only afford to lose 2 more games. They have 24 games left. Now, if they go 22-2 the rest of the way, they'll finish the year with a winning record. I don't think that's happening. But I'll tell you what the frustrating thing is. The frustrating thing is they were so terrible in May and June that an extra 5 wins in each one of those months, we'd maybe be thinking of talking about having a winning team. They went 9-19 in May. If they went, that would be 14-14. If they played 500 ball in May and then went, and they were 7-20 in June. So if they had gone, they would be 50. They would be 8-15 in June and 500 in May. We could be talking about them having a winning record, but that's neither here nor there. Fact of the matter is, they had a fantastic July. They went 15-9, and they went 14-12. They had a winning August, and they were just under 500 after April. Remember, they were 14-17, and they got to 500 on May 4th, and then they went into a tailspin. But win 3 games, and the team will avoid 100 losses. They could do that this week. Win 13 out of the final 24 games. Again, I'm not asking to have a Moneyball streak here. Play winning baseball the rest of the way. Take 2 out of 3. Get closer. Because if this team can avoid the 90-loss mark, then do you know what? That'd be something really extraordinary. And something that I think, even though it's not a championship, is worth celebrating. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And now you can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is the best way to get on the action. And it's available in almost every state, including here in California, also in Texas and Georgia. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money, even if one of your picks does not hit. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get the $5 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Speaking of game, it's time to hear from our friends over at Gametime. You know what Gametime is? It's the best place to get tickets for all your live events. And now Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks, which makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff and shows you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. So check out Seat Views. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Check out the lowest price guaranteed. Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference, and you'll have the Gametime ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, this is a reminder that Locked On MLB is the other show you should be listening to. I'm the host of that too, and I'm getting you prepared for the Fall Classic. I've got it covered every single day. You can find the link to Locked On MLB in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All right, I'm going to read, just so you know, I'm going to be doing a viewer, I guess a viewer mail episode coming up, if not tomorrow, then the next day. And I'm going to have a lot of your responses in that. But I'm going to read one right now because he wrote me I'm going to guess your key. And if you're not, forgive me. It's Ken Clue 467. This was in regards to one of the Vegas episodes I did recently. Skeptics said there was no fan base for NHL and hockey. The Golden Knights led the league in attendance last year. You're right. And I'll be honest with you, I probably was a skeptic of that. And I mentioned that I was not only skeptical, but cynical of the fan base of Las Vegas embracing the A's. I will say there are some differences. First and foremost, it was an expansion team. It wasn't it was Vegas's own team. It wasn't a team that they picked up from another city. But I don't know how important that really is. Some people have mentioned that. The other thing was they were good right away. Right away. The draft pick situation was in their favor. The payroll situation was in their favor. And they put together a really good team right away. They were in the Stanley Cup Finals their first season, and they won the Cup a couple of years ago. So this is not a situation where it's like, okay, well, this team is struggling. It's got to find their footing. They got to find their team. No. This team started at the top. But it also had something that no other team will have, and that it was the first team. It was the first team for Vegas. There was a novelty to it, but there was also a sense for the fans to be like, yes, this is our club. I saw that same thing happen in San Jose, which is slightly different because there were other teams in the region. But it was the team that put the city of San Jose on the map as a sports franchise city. It was this team that gave San Jose their identity of a big league city. And the people of San Jose embraced the Sharks, even though it's a real hard argument that the South Bay is some sort of hockey hotbed. You do make a very good point, Ken Clue, that the Golden Knights have been a tremendous success in Las Vegas. But there won't be another first team in Vegas. Another viewer wrote something, I don't have it in front of me, but I was saying that the city is becoming less and less of a people moving there. What's a transplant population? And maybe that will be true. And maybe there will be a team in Las Vegas. I think the A's are, I've said this before, they might be a better fit in Sacramento. Now, the Tropicana is going to be imploded. I think it's this week. First time I ever went to Las Vegas. My wife and I stayed at the Tropicana. So the space is being cleared out. The funding is still iffy, and the design of it still is vague. Maybe they will build the stadium there. Maybe it will work. I do think it's a better spot for an expansion team than for a relocated team with an owner that nobody trusts. And I do think we're being set up for the A's to park themselves in Sacramento, develop a little base there, and the owner of the Kings to swoop in. I still think that's going to happen. And I still have a ton of issues with Las Vegas as a site for a Major League Baseball team. But Ken, you may be right. And if I'm wrong, I will eat piles of crow. But right now, it's still hypothetical. But what's not hypothetical is I would be doing more shows this week. And I'm going to be doing an episode at the end of the Mariners A's series. We're going to cover the final 3 games of that series. And so that one's probably going to drop on Thursday or Friday. But I did 2 over the weekend. So you're going to get your 5 episodes. Don't worry. I haven't forgotten you. So follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about the A's playing their best game after their worst. This has been Locked On A's. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.